international matters, the campaign as to whether or not the UK exits the European Union is on hold. The UK is mourning the death of a Parliament member, Jo Cox. She was shot and stabbed in northern England. She has since died. One eyewitness told the BBC they heard her attacker shout, quote, "Put Britain first," at least twice before the attack. Trump economic advisor, heritage economist Steve Moore is with me now. So, Steve, all reports show, as do his actions, this was obviously a deranged individual, but I want to get away from the violence, focus on the economic issue. Right. What do you make of the potentiality of the UK leaving the European Union?
I'm not buying the scare tactics of the people who want to keep Britain in the EU. I'm not buying it. You know, people are all of these incredible, Armageddon for the British economy if they leave. There will be some costs, no question about it. The real question is if Britain decides to leave, and I believe they will. I think the voters are going to approve this measure to leave. The question is how much access will they still have to the European market? I don't think it will be much restricted. Let's not forget, Deirdre, London today is the #1 financial center of the world, and it's certainly the financial center of the European continent. And I think it'll preserve that status. But where they will benefit, and I think the reason this is going to pass, is because a lot of Britons just don't believe that the EU has been a positive thing for them. They think they're paying for the costs of, what's happening in Greece and Spain and Italy and other countries. Yeah.
Which is completely understandable, and we know that government leaders in the UK, business leaders, they really don't want to take their cues from Brussels. So that I understand 100%. Well, but I want to ask you, because you brought up London, what if all the big Spanish banks, Italian banks, French banks, German banks say, okay, you don't want to be in the EU anymore, because London is really the financial hub of Europe.
Right. Yeah, of course.
What if they pull all those banks, their headquarters, out of London? Does it matter?
Well, they're certainly threatening to do that, but I just don't see. Yeah, and would it matter? Of course, it would matter. It would hurt London, and it would hurt Britain quite a bit if they did. I just believe that those are hollow threats. I mean, there's a reason people do business for financial transactions and banking in London, because they have, the most investor-friendly types of rules, and that's what has made London such a powerhouse in terms of finance. But there's another element of this that I think is so interesting with respect to American politics, which is, no matter how many of these scare tactics the intellectuals roll out, it appears that Britons just aren't buying it, right, Deirdre? They just aren't believing it. And I think that's very similar to what's happening, quite frankly, with the Trump campaign. People are saying, oh, my gosh, you can't vote for Donald Trump because he's going to do this and that and other things. And a lot of voters just don't believe it.
Well, I think it might have worked out okay if, exactly as you said, if there weren't Greece defaulting, if Spain, Portugal, and Italy weren't just on the edge. So it's changed the perspective, I think,
that's right,
of most
Deirdre.
English.
Well, the other thing is the immigration issue, and that seems to be heightening in terms of importance. And a lot of Britons that I talk to just say, we're really wary of, a steady stream of immigrants coming in from Europe. And then there's just the issue of sovereignty. More and more countries want individual sovereignty. Certainly England does.
Yeah, indeed, Steve. We're going to be talking about it all next week. In the meantime, I thank you very much.
Thanks,
Steve Moore with
Have a great weekend.
You too.